Players podcast. I'm Freestyle. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time joining me, the philosophy of this podcast is to speak to the players who are shaping the metagame so that their voices can be heard. This week's voice, Kasa, won the Super PTQ a little while ago, and I don't know if anyone noticed, but the winner's deck was Greenless Tron. Thank you so very much for coming on to the podcast, and all the way from Japan, navigating the language barrier. Could you tell us a bit about yourself?
My name on Magic Online is Kasa. I'm from Japan. I used to play Pauper, but now I play only online. Results in Pauper tournaments are top 8 Pauper champs in January, won challenge twice, and Super Qualifier winning. I play Flicker Tron in recent tournaments. I used to play the Boros Bully so much time. One of my challenge winning is by Boros Bully. I also play other formats. Took 20 trophy in Modern League in Tales Beyond the season. Top 8 in Standard Showcase Challenge. Sadly, took 9th place in the last Pauper Showcase Challenge. And last year, I won Vintage Challenge.
How did you get started playing Magic the Gathering?
When I was a child, elder brother of my friend gave me a bunch of magic cards. But they didn't teach me the rule. So at first, I used to play Magic like Hearthstone, like creature attacks target creature. Magic is elder generation's game for me. Yu-Gi-Oh is far more popular among school in my grade. Some schoolmates who got Magic cards for free like me plays Magic, but almost of them play Yu-Gi-Oh mainly, and some of them had quitted Magic soon. Maybe I am the only one in the school who play only Magic and not play Yu-Gi-Oh. There was some reason for me to choose to play Magic. I was kinda kid who don't like to what everyone's do, while the other kids like to do what everyone's do, and I like foreign culture. Another reason is non-Yu-Gi-Oh player school kids started to look down Yu-Gi-Oh player kids. When my generation became old enough to start to look down childish things, Yu-Gi-Oh became the biggest target. At that age, collecting card games were thought to be toy for little childs. Magic is not that target because not as famous as Yu-Gi-Oh in Japan. Especially, girls hated Yu-Gi-Oh players so much. They said like, are they still seriously playing Yu-Gi-Oh? And don't tell me you are playing Yu-Gi-Oh. One of the good things about choosing to play Magic is when people ask me if I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I was able to say no without lying. The biggest reason to play Magic is game quality. In early time, Yu-Gi-Oh was ridiculously simple. Just one big creature dominates battlefield. I thought it was a bad joke that many kids play something like this. If opponent controls bigger creature than me, my creature can do nothing but being beaten. But in Magic, sometimes small creature rules the game, sometimes bigger do. From my knowledge of Yu-Gi-Oh, I thought collectible card game is a shit as a game. Magic completely changed my view of collectible card game.
What got you into Pauper? And follow-up question, what made you stay with Pauper?
I was looking for a way to Magic Online cheaply and found Pauper. Honestly, I started Magic Online for playing draft, not for Pauper. In Pauper, it was really hard to gather 8 Magic players at the same time, especially who is willing to pay $10 for one gameplay, while we can play a constructed game for free. I had only read about the draft in the manual and hadn't actually played it, and seen it. I wondered for years what it would be like to play the draft. So for me, playing draft was a very mysterious thing. Playing the draft for the first time was a very touching moment. It was moving as if a long-held dream had come true. It was very fun and played so much time, and lost so much money because I was a beginner. Then I had to looking for cheaper format, and Pauper is the one. First time, I played Affinity. I played Affinity when I was in school, when Mirrodin block age. The deck was so strong with a lot of common cards. Frogmite, Enforcer, Thoughtgas, Votive Whisperers, Cranial Plating, and I learned there are cards like Galvanic Blast and Forger. So I strongly believe there's no Pauper deck that can beat Affinity and play it. I can't remember exact result at that time, but remember Tormented by Fangren Marauder and by Flame Slash. I was prepared cards like Gorilla Shaman, Artifact Destroying cards after sideboard, but these main deck against Affinity cards are unexpected. This is a memory of when I got into Pauper. Earlier time, the price is the only reason to play Pauper. No, the reason is once you become a good player in Pauper, you're a good player in Pauper forever. Maybe same in other Eternal format, but I think Pauper is the least affected by banning and new set. Actually, I hadn't played so much time in Theros Beyond that season. I only played some scheduled events, hadn't played League, but made a good result. Like this has happened before. Didn't play Pauper for a while, and played again, but format not changed very much. There's no need to learn something new to win the game. In addition, if there's some new nice cards, you can get the cards for almost free. There's few exceptions like Path Sentinel. In summary, is of restarting.
Alright then, let's talk about your tournament. Tell me how you won the Super PTQ. Let's run through it.
Matchup in the qualifier are Affinity, Anglo Devil, Tron, Familiar, Squared Fairy, and all of the rest are Borosplay. All the match in top 8 were Borosplay. That is the easiest matchup for Tron, so it was a very lucky tournament. In the rest of the match in round of Swiss, Familiar was the scariest matchup because it's hard to remove Familiar from play by my deck. The rest deck of the Swiss round are 50-50 or slightly favored. It highly depends on what card you play in free slot. I won all of these matches but Squared Fairy. I considered the Squared Fairy because I already locked up top 8, so I didn't need to play the game. I tried new 2 cards from the recent Tron list. These I've never tried in Tron: Prismatic Strand and Raping the Graves. And cut the cards with similar effect, Moment Spears, Pass of Mirasa. Then I played more creature than usual to make Rapings work better. But the list has Fatal Flaw. There's no life-gaining card that can be searched by teachings. So I would never play the same list again.
Well, I did not participate in the Super PTQ. As I've previously expressed, not really a genuine interest in participating in the Pro Tour, so I don't have a play of the day to share, but I am very curious to hear what your play of the day was in the tournament.
The last game against Familiar in the qualifier, earlier turn I was able to play the Roller Horror to bounce back Bounceland and pass the turn. At that time, he had Familiar and 1 land in play, and I tapped that. His turn, he played a land and passed the turn. My hand was Flicker, and the rest lands. In spite of the overwhelming advantage, I might lose the game by flooded out if I get countered my flaker, so I waited without doing anything. The probability of him holding this spell are high because the game was after sideboard. 2 turns later, he played a second familiar by tapping to his land and one his island untapped. I had drawn Condescend the previous turn, so I played it. I could counter the second familiar and found the second Din Rover from the top deck, and play to bounce only his untapped island and flick to Din Rover. He lost all the lands on battlefield, and he gave up the game. If I didn't have the patience, flicker might be countered. He might be able to turn situation around. I could flood it out and lost the game. That was play of the day.
Of course, every episode we do ask for your most silly of Slivers abilities. What is yours this week?
It would be nice if there was Sliver have the ability tap to let Magic Online time pass. Almost all the good decks in Pauper are too time consuming, so it will change the format.
I like that one. My silly Slivers ability is all Slivers have seasonal allergies. So if you see a Sliver sneezing, it's not necessarily sick. Could be those allergies. Well, congratulations for winning your way to the Pro Tour using Pauper. It's a dream for many players. It's amazing, really, in the grand scheme of things. And thank you so very much for coming onto the podcast, lending your voice all the way from Japan.
Goodbye, Freestyle. It was a good opportunity to look back my pastime. Thank you.
And thanks once more to my guest for coming on the podcast. It's truly appreciated. I love it when we hear from players that come from a completely different culture. Always interesting. And if you're wondering why this episode has taken so very long, it isn't because of my guest. He provided those answers to me nearly a month ago. But like those Slivers, I too have seasonal allergies. And I haven't sounded like myself. It's very difficult to use your mouth to speak when you're trying to breathe with it. However, this hasn't been necessarily a hiatus, as I am speaking with a previous Paupergeddon champion who recently won the showcase with Blue-Red Delver. Same deck he won Paupergeddon with. We've never had a Blue-Red Delver player on the podcast, so I'm looking forward to asking him some questions, and I've already started that process. Additionally, have been discussing with Helsaw about making his return onto the podcast. If you haven't heard his episode previously, take the time, listen to it. We're going to be continuing that discussion because he has been on an absolute heater. 3 finals appearances, 2 wins, an additional top 8. He's had quite the month in May, and I'm very curious to find out how many opponents had Relic of Progenitus against him. I suspect it was a lot. Looking forward, as always, to bringing these discussions to you, so please do join me, and I'll see you then.